ready to feel
the power.
That's Colin Crandall over there, and myself, Adam Rorda, right here. I'm the producer. Colin's the man of the hour every Tuesday here with all of these amazing MMA fighter interviews and all the great news and coverage being brought to you by MMA Power Hour. You guys are all the best for tuning in. Thank you so much, whether you're on the Hannibal TV or over on our own platforms. You guys are just absolutely the best. Make sure to hit up all of our social media with likes, comments, and shares. It's at MMA Power Hour.
Absolutely. We really appreciate you. And this is our 5-year anniversary show. We actually had one last week, but the difference is last week was 5 years from when Adam and I went on the air, just me in front of the camera back in those days, talking about what the show was going to bring and what we wanted to do. And we did not have any guests. The first official episode that we had planned where we had our first guest was on this exact day 5 years ago, 2017. And man, everything we talked about doing as far as making our show about, we've made happen, and we've been so grateful for all of the support of so many people out there, and we're looking forward to providing an absolutely stellar show for you today. And we've got one guest that was there on that first episode, Mr. Pat Miletich, the original Croatian sensation, original welterweight champion of the UFC and UFC Hall of Famer, broadcaster, author.
Huge deal. Thanks, yep. Pat. Literally the first guest, and yes. You're back doing it again 5 years to the day.
Yeah, we really appreciate you a lot, Pat. And then we've got two other amazing guests with big fights coming up. Gilbert Durino Burns in that huge fight April 9th against fellow top 10 contender Khamzat Chimaev. I think Gilbert is ranked either number 2 or number 3 in the different ratings lists out there, rankings lists rather, and Khamzat is like number 9 or 10. And so that is going to be an amazing fight. And our third guest, Max Griffin, we have who is going to be in a great fight sooner than that, March 26th, against fellow top 20 contender Neil Magny. So some great exciting fights for two of our guests, and so much other great talk that we'll have to do with Pat Miletich.
And we do have our confirmations, actually. Awesome. Love it.
You got it. The one we were looking. Okay.
It doesn't always happen, everybody. Where we get actual confirmations before the show. We get down to the last second to the wire, and sometimes on the show, during the show, you'll see me get excited, and
I like why,
it. Because
I was wondering what the hell it was. I thought I was talking too quietly.
Well, you were
talking loud, and then okay, well,
yeah, no, but at the same time, I was like, yeah,
good.
All at once, I was like,
I love it. It's always good. One of the things that you guys may or may not know, even when you watch Joe Rogan's show, or if you ever watch Ariel Helwani, even these shows, ESPN with Brett Okamoto, even sometimes these shows advertise a guest and they don't show up. And so it happens. And I think for some of the shows that are not as big as those 3 shows, a lot of times the guests don't show up. And we have a really good
track record.
Yeah, we do. For a show that's people know, but that isn't up there as far as being watched and having the budget as the 3 shows that I just mentioned, we have a remarkable record for people showing up. Once in a while, they don't, but usually they'll come on the next week. But still, we have a good record, and we're always happy and grateful when it's going to be a show where everyone shows up.
The reason we have such a great track record with that, though, is because of everybody that's tuning in. You're all here. I see all the viewers, quite a few across all the platforms right now, Colin. So
cool.
Yeah, it's because of everybody tuning in, the likes, comments, shares. People do know that Colin's the best interviewer in the space. 100%. You'll see him at UFC events getting caught on camera, but and ESPN gets lucky enough to have Colin asking all the right questions and all the best questions, 100% the best questions. But Colin,
thank you.
Real quick, another reason we're finding a lot of success is because we have support from outside groups and sometimes kind of mixed inside groups like Cross Train MMA Fighter that Colin decided to purchase, and Lith Token as well. Make sure to hit up crosstrainmmafighter.com to get yourself an amazing t-shirt and apparel. He'll be building that up over time here into a full apparel company. Actually, he and I talked about doing that together here.
Yes.
But we'll be doing some NFT drops, Colin, like it or not. I'm telling you, we're going to be doing this.
Nifty. To me, that means nifty. NFT, and you add the IY, it's nifty.
We'll be partnering up with our other partner here, and right now it is my not my company. I'm actually the blockchain architect over at Lift Token. Check out lifttoken.io. We are getting into physical NFTs, which means apparel, collectibles, signed gear from athletes, and we'll probably be starting with some of the collectibles here in the MMA space. Get some signatures, see if we get some people to do it. But Pat Miletich would be an awesome one to start with, actually. If we get him some gear and also put out some NFTs. So maybe
we'll talk to him.
We'll talk to him afterwards. But definitely hit up lifttoken.io and hit up crosstrainmmafighter.com.
Absolutely. We appreciate you guys so much. And, any insight you have, feel free to share it. If you have questions of me and Adam personally during this show or any show, we're going to try to get to you if we can, but we will make it a priority. If you do want to have us ask a question live to the guests, we will require a little tip, even if it's just a couple of bucks. It would help us so much, and that way we can make sure to guarantee to get your question in for any of the fighter guests in the during the live show. Also, our show stays up, so if you miss this or if you come in late, you're not going to be able to rewind it while it's live, of course, but it will stay up afterward for the next day, the next month, and the next year. We like to keep a majority of our library available constantly for you guys to look at. And what do we've got? Probably 500 episodes of this, or at least we've got, if not 500, we've got, I think, at least like 1,500 hours of MMA Power Hour interview show content. So if you guys ever want to immerse yourself in that, we've got some really great interviews. A lot of people are still relevant and involved in MMA.
Well over 500 interviews at this point, Colin.
Definitely.
Without really even trying.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, on average, 3 an episode for 5 years.
Yep.
About 50, averaging about,
45 weeks a year.
Yeah.
Well, yep, that's right. Yeah. We have, so I was thinking almost 500 episodes. We don't quite have that many episodes, but interviews, I think for sure. I think we're
right about 300 episodes, 250 to 300.
So we probably are gaining on 1,000 interviews because we had sometimes more than 3 in the early days. So yeah.
Absolutely.
A lot of content for you, and we really take pride in putting out good stuff that you're interested in. Obviously, if we could have the champion in every division and all the bigger organizations and the top 3 contenders every week, we would do that. As you guys and girls probably know, it's not possible. Those guys and girls are not always available. Some of them are not made available at all. And, but we definitely get some really good people, and we have had lots of top 5 contenders, a few champions, tons of top 10 contenders, and even top 15 are people that next month could be top 10, and we've had a ton of them. So a lot of people that are relevant, some of the top coaches.
Well, Colin, let's get into it here. We've got a comment actually from somebody talking about the fights this last weekend with Khalil Roundtree absolutely starching his opponent in a major rage, and then goes on about, I value life so much, peace and love, and then blah blah blah. Give me a break, dude. That's what Bruce is saying.
You don't go from
rage violence to that BS. It's like, listen, these guys are very disciplined fighters. At the end of the day, they find that rage during the fight, but as soon as the official stops it, these guys know how to turn it off for the most part. Not all of them, but most guys do, and there's a reality to. As soon as that official calls it, it's done. It's over, and you have to have that discipline. Otherwise, it could amount to a lot of death.
Yeah.
So these fighters, I have to disagree with this. They know how to turn it off on a switch.
Yeah. Not only that, but while I definitely respect your opinion, Bruce, and I really do appreciate you interacting.
100%.
I think that there's a lot of conflict or supposed contradiction in life, or a dichotomy. I don't know if that's the right word. I almost never use that, so I could be using that wrong. But a lot of MMA fighters are really, really nice guys and girls that don't have any habit of abusing their wife or girlfriend or spouse ever, don't have any habit of abusing their brothers, their sisters, their friends, nobody. So they're really not perpetuating violence on anyone except for in a combat sports match. And I understand, one can say, how can they think of talking about stopping violence and stopping anger and stopping hate and stopping victimization when they're in. But the difference is a combat sports fight are two people that are professional trained combat sports athletes that are prepared for the encounter. And so I don't think it's really as much as a contradiction as you're mentioning, Bruce. And I think that basically some of the people that find that this is their passion and where they can get to be successful enough to have a platform, they do want to use their platform to be against violence and against crime and against war. And I think that is legit. However interesting a career it may be for people to have that thought, I think a lot of people have that thought. A lot of our fighters are absolutely against any violence or victimization of anybody other than in a combat sports venue where people have agreed to and are being paid for that, taking that risk.
Absolutely. Now, Colin, it's a little bit after
Let's do it.
time,
Yeah.
so let's get into that Skype dance here.
Let's do it. Skype dance, baby.
It's hard to Skype dance. He's not online.
Uh-oh. So
Yep, you might want to tell him.
let's do that. All right. So let me let him know, and let me see.
We'll get him in there, and Colin's going to dictate like he always does.
We're trying to Skype you now, brother, but it shows that you're not online. Perhaps you can Skype call us at, and then of course I'm not going to dictate that. And let me type that in here. All right.
Try this
Okay.
one.
All
No,
right.
that's not the one. Da, 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 da.
Live TV, indeed. Yes,
We're
it
not
is.
always the most exciting. We try
Yep.
our best here.
Absolutely. One of the things is, I mean, it's like, here's the deal. The Generation X generation wasn't really the internet generation. Everyone knows that. It's just tougher. The average guy that's 30, you ask him to learn this how to work this app. Within a couple hours in that same day, he or she has learned this app. You ask someone who's 50 or 55 or 60 to do the same thing, you can't count on that or expect it. It's tougher. They didn't grow up with it. They're looking at something that any error that takes you off course can really throw them, because they're just not used to being able to weave their way through weird stuff. And Skype doesn't have the most ideal and friendly platform, unfortunately. It does really work well, which is why we use it, but it's not as easy for some of the Generation X or baby
I don't
boomers.
get it. I think it's the easiest thing on the planet to use. I don't get it.
Well, but you are a millennial as well, so. But
I'm Zuckerberg class, so
There you go. All right, let
all
me
this
see.
I just don't get it.
okay, he
To me,
said,
it's easy.
he says he's trying to get it revved up now. He's not sure
Okay.
why it's slow. It seems to be slow, but he's working on it.
Yeah, that's more of an issue. Pat does know how to use Skype. He was one of the first guys here. First time we reached
Well,
out to him.
we didn't do Skype in those days. In the early days, in his defense, we did a phone call with a picture of him on the screen.
Now we did do that the
We
first
did,
few
we
times,
did.
but he figured it out. And
Yeah, we
he
did
does it.
eventually. Yeah, I
he uses
think-
it for his shows now.
Yeah, I think we did. So he's working on it. I just think he hasn't worked on it for a while. But one of the things we appreciate with our guests is some of our guests, never use Skype at all. And then they will use it for our show, and we really appreciate that. And once in a while, it can take a little bit of time, but I think he's working on it.
Everybody got into the Zoom thing. I never understood that. I'm Mr. Skype. I mean, I've had to use Zoom because
Yeah.
everybody else is using it, but
Yeah.
to me, it just doesn't.
One of the
I don't
things
know.
about
Skype's
Zoom,
been around forever.
Right. One of the things about Zoom is Zoom allows you to use a virtual background. I don't know if Skype allows you
It does.
to do it.
Skype allows all that stuff, but it doesn't look good anyways.
Right, I see what you're saying. Well, sometimes I like the one where it's the Golden Gate Bridge or whatever behind you. Maybe it'll look a little stupid, but
I mean, from a producer standpoint,
not
it
great.
looks, it doesn't look good.
yeah, understood. So while he is working on that, one of the things we can say, because I'm confident he will make it happen, is that Pat Miletich is a guy who is one of the legends in the world of MMA. He was the first welterweight champion. Interestingly enough, though, for anyone that wants to call me on that, don't worry, I know where you're going with it. They actually called the 170-pound class the middleweight class back then, because all they had was heavyweight, light heavyweight, middleweight, and then I think welterweight. So they didn't have all these different weight classes. And being that the lowest weight class was lightweight, I think they decided to make it. No, it wasn't, because that's anyway. Whatever. You know what? I think even before lightweight, I think initially we just had unlimited 200 pounds and over and 170, and so it was called heavyweight, light heavyweight, and middleweight. And so 170 was middleweight, but nevertheless, Pat Miletich was the first 170-pound UFC champion, and then later it became called as welterweight. Let me see what he's saying. He's trying to find us, and he's asking if the address I gave is the whole Skype handle, and I'll say yes, it is, because it is those 3 words.
Yes, it
all right.
is.
All right.
It is. It is.
It is. Okay. Maybe, but he's probably thinking the first letter is L. But the first letter is I and not L. All right. And I have to.
Look at all these, Colin. Look at this. Look at the screen once you get a second. Look at the right-hand side.
Yeah. Yep.
Look.
So like a variety of huge fighting celebrities that have been on. Wow. Wowie. Look at all those great people.
Wow.
Yeah. Absolutely a great selection.
And this is right now. I'm a year back, right about here.
Right.
Still scrolling down. Wow,
that's great.
A lot of it, and it's.
So if you type that in, it'll bring you the other 2 words, because I think we're the only people on that have that name. Okay. Yeah, so many great people, so many amazing interviews, and yeah, there we go. Right.
And there he is. That's Pat.
Awesome. Hey, Pat, can you hear me?
Yeah,
awesome.
You got me?
We got you. I really appreciate you, brother. Let me give you a proper introduction since we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, so happy to have this next guest back on the show. We had him on the first episode of the show with guests 5 years ago today. He is a legend, former UFC welterweight champion, UFC Hall of Famer, respected commentator, and podcaster. And we lost the video on him, but nevertheless, so happy to have on the show the original Croatian sensation, Mr. Pat Miletich. And we're back. Can you hear me, Pat?
Yep, I can hear you. I can hear you perfectly. I just, I didn't know if I, sometimes if I turn off the video, at least it'll be better reception for the conversation.
No problem. So. Yeah, no, you're good. And the video is good. If you can keep that, it's excellent. So really appreciate having you back on, man. Yeah, that first show that we had guests, I remember we had you and one of my jiu-jitsu teachers, Fabiano Iha, and it was a great show. And I mean, obviously people like him, and he had a name there, but your name really, I think, got us some really good momentum to be able to keep going. And I know I've told you before, but I want to thank you again. I really appreciate you jumping on with us early.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
So yeah, so much to talk about, Pat, and I don't know where to start, but let's start with the state of MMA today. You were the champion. I think we're coming up right around close to 25 years since you won that belt. Am I right?
It was 24 years a few days ago when I won the 4-man tournament, the inaugural 170-pound tournament.
Nice. So next year will be 25 years. And a lot of people don't know. In fact, I think it's probably a trivia question that will throw people off. If someone says that you were the first welterweight champion, technically you were, but they called it the middleweight title because the only titles they had, the only weight classes were, I think, heavyweight, light heavyweight, and 170, which was middleweight, right?
They actually called it lightweight back then. My belt says lightweight.
Oh, wow. Boy, so I wasn't even, So I knew it wasn't welterweight. I knew they called it something else. Okay, the lightweight champion, you're right. And then it became, while you still had it, did they change it and call it welterweight? I think they did, right?
Yeah. But because when John Peretti came in, John Peretti made a lot of changes and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I did a couple great interviews with him. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Pat? I spoke over you. I didn't know you were talking. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then Zuffa took over it also, and then so there was definitely a lot of changes that went on while I was there.
Absolutely. And so you definitely had a lot of preparation being there in Iowa. One of the things I was thinking of the other day was, I forget which fighter it was, but someone in that first episode, I think, or second episode that I had you on, I think we had you on 6 months later, asked me to ask you about this is 5 years ago, about the pitchfork incident in Iowa. And I remember you told that story, which had to be a crazy scenario. But you grew up in that rugged fighting area in Iowa. And I think prior to 1993, you had been wrestling. Your first fight in the UFC was 1997, or 97 or 8.
I'm trying to 97 probably, or 98, somewhere in there.
And it's go ahead.
But
and so I'm so sorry.
No, that's problem. I was doing a lot of martial arts, a lot of kickboxing, a lot of Muay Thai training, some judo training, as well before the UFC.
Right. And I remember in an early video interview, I forget where it was, but I remember you mentioned you were studying with Cesar Gracie, I think it was, wasn't it? Or no, Rodrigo Gracie, right?
Rodrigo out in California. I spent some time out there at Ken Gabrielson's gym. So Ken Gabrielson's really technically the first American to get a black belt underneath a Gracie. And he was a fireman out in Orange County, California. So I went out there, slept on the couch in the back room of the gym, stayed there for, 4 or 5 weeks. And Rodrigo Gracie was training there at the time. A guy who I had previously fought from that gym, Earl Lux, was there. John Lober was there. And then they had some bigger guys that were a guy named Chris Rose, who was a Los Angeles police officer. I tell you what, dude, that guy was scary. He was scary on the ground. Very good D1 wrestler as well.
Did he compete in MMA at all, or just trained?
I think he just trained, and I tell you what, I rolled with that guy a little bit. And he was a big guy, but he was so skilled and such a good wrestler that he was a rough cat. He was a rough cat.
Yeah, I believe
those guys. There's some very technical grapplers out there.
Definitely. Well, you were one of the first guys to have a team. Now there's all these teams everywhere. The American Top Team, American Kickboxing Academy, Elevation Fight Team, and all these other tremendous teams. Back in the early days, pretty much it was the Lions Den and Miletich Fighting Systems. I think first.
Yeah, then there was Shoot Box.
That's right, in Brazil, Shoot the Box, yeah.
And there was a few other pretty tough teams, but just less gyms, so to speak, or less teams that were put together that way.
Right, and you were actively fighting and managing people. Like one of the people that I think is kind of doing what you were doing then now is James Krause. Are you familiar with him and Glory MMA over there in St. Louis, I think it is, or Kansas City?
Yeah, I really have enjoyed James's career. I called a few of his fights early on in his career on Access TV, and I still have one of his T-shirts that he walked out in. It says "Stay calm and throw bombs."
Love it. So he's kind of the Pat Miletich of the modern era, an active fighter who is coaching, and he's going everywhere. He's flying everywhere. He's cornering all these guys just like you did. And I gotta figure, man, that has to be tough. I mean, at some point, is that kind of what got you to kind of stop competing, in that you had so much obligations to deal with your other fighters? Or was it a combination of, well, I know you stopped for a while and then came back, but it must have been a big challenge in those early days for you to be fighting and cornering like a dozen guys. What was that like? And did that lead to you having less fights than maybe you would have if you weren't doing that?
Well, I mean, one thing, there were a lot of benefits to it because I never quit training. But the downside of that is that my body took a pretty severe beating, just never resting. You know what I mean?
Training with all those guys, yeah.
Yes, because I had to help them get ready for their fights right when I was done, and I was always in the gym, and always getting guys ready, so I was sparring, I was wrestling, I was doing everything. So, the pace was a little crazy, but I was also, for me, at the same time, I had, my gym, obviously, to run, doing law enforcement and military classes around the country. And then also, started doing the broadcasting and all of that. So I had so much going on at one time that's why I pushed away from the table of coaching, just because I had so much going on that I figured I'd climb the mountain as an athlete and as a coach. And that was what led me. And I had 2 young girls at the time. I've got 3 daughters now, but at the time I had 2 young daughters, and I wasn't seeing them. Even when I was in town, I wasn't seeing them except, for breakfast and take them to school and stuff. And that was it.
Yeah.
Because I'd get home so late, I'd already be in bed. So, I thought to myself, if I don't get rid of something, I'm just not going to spend any time with my kids. They're not even going to know me.
Yeah. Definitely. No, I think you made the right choice there. And you helped so many fighters. You guys had such a great team there with Jens Pulver, Matt Hughes, yourself, Jeremy Horn, so many guys, obviously, that you could mention. One fight that I remember that I think maybe some of us Generation X guys or millennials that have really looked back at some of the early fights would love to know is that in that fight with Matt Hughes and Carlos Newton, when Matt lifted Carlos up, put him on top of the cage, Carlos had that triangle on Matt, and Matt took him off the cage and slammed him on the ground, and they were both looking like they were out, and then Matt all of a sudden started to get up, and they said, okay, it was like like Rocky, I think the second Rocky or something like that, or third, yeah, and they gave him the victory. Question: was Matt Hughes out and then he came back, or was he never unconscious, do you think?
Well, the deal with that is when Matt slammed him, that was he carried him over. He carried Carlos over to us so he could hear us, and that's something that he always would do during fights.
Gotcha.
And so when he dropped Carlos, I could tell by Matt's eyes that he wasn't all there, and so I jumped up, and my waist, right where your waist bends, I caught at the top of the octagon, and I was able to reach down. He was on his knees, and I did this, scruffed his hair like this, and went, get up, get up, get up. And he looked up at me, and then he stood up and he said to Jeremy Horn, he goes, what just happened? And Jeremy goes, you just won the title.
I love it. Oh man, that's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That was a great fight.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a 10 count, he got up before the 10 count, and Carlos didn't.
Yeah, he did. He had some amazing fights. Hughes really did, and then also he had that terrible train accident. Is he doing okay? Are you in touch with him at all?
He's doing great. And lives down in Southern Illinois, and staying busy, and yeah, he's doing real well.
That's cool. Now his brother had 3 or 4 MMA fights.
Yes, he fought, I think, once in the UFC.
And he was a good fighter, was a good wrestler. And I know a lot of people think if your brother can do it, you can do it. Why not? And these guys were twins. So was there ever a possibility of his brother Mark Hughes sticking with it? And was there any hope, or did any of you guys feel, hey, this guy could be as good as his brother?
He could have been. He just decided not to. He wanted to do other things. He wanted to focus on the farming and stuff like that. He won a fight in the UFC, and on the way back to the locker room, he just looked at me and said, I just don't think this is for me. He goes, I've done it, I've experienced it, but I just don't think this is for me. So
interesting. And if someone ever said that, I'm sure you as a coach and a fighter had no desire to push them or change their mind, huh?
No, I mean, there's no reason. I mean, that's too serious of a sport, to not be 100%, committed mentally and physically and spiritually and everything else. Because I mean, it's a brutal sport. The guys that win fights take a lot of damage too, so.
Without a doubt. So you've done a lot of commentary with Access TV. You've had your amazing show, podcast, Conspiracy Farm, which so many of the conspiracies have turned out to be realities. for a lot of people out there.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. What's going on with you nowadays? Do you still have the podcast? Are you still doing any commentary for MMA? What's Pat Miletich up to here in 2022?
I'm going to be calling some fights for Valor, Bare Knuckle.
Mm-hmm.
That's revving up again here. I also do the Caged Aggression shows here. We started a .com pay-per-view company here. Just kind of threw some guys together that knew what they were doing, and I knew that we had the guys that could, that could make it happen. We had the promoter, we had the guys that were, in the TV industry from this area, and we had the commentary team, all that sort of stuff. So we did that, and we've got another one. They're doing a triple show here at the end of March. People can go to CagedAggression.tv and purchase that pay-per-view, which is much less costly than other pay-per-views, trust me.
Definitely.
And so people can check that out. And they're great shows, and it's three shows back to back to back on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Very cool. CagedAggression.com, is that where you can find that?
CagedAggression.tv. So, and then I also do we're starting a new podcast. I've got a couple in the can already where, Jeff and I kind of decided to push away from the conspiracy farm stuff just because we had told everybody for years, we did that podcast for about 7 years. And we got to the point where, it was over a year out. Yeah, a year out from the spring of 2020 when I said, basically this is going to start in the spring of 2020, just get ready for asymmetrical warfare, and we don't need to go down that path, but people don't even understand that there are many forms of warfare, and asymmetrical is, biological, chemical, financial, psychological, all these different components of it that people just aren't aware of. They just aren't aware of, and it's okay, but it's costly because, as you can see, the inflation that we're being hit with right now. I hate to say it, but it is what it is. And I realized about halfway through his administration that the trillions and trillions of dollars that he was signing into allowing the Federal Reserve to print was going to come back to bite us.
Yeah.
And so this delayed reaction. Look, Biden did it too, but Trump did it a couple times at least. And, that's why you're seeing the prices. It's not from Russia pushing its way into the Ukraine. That's not why the prices of everything are gone up. They were going up a long time ago.
Without a doubt. And I agree 100%. And not to veer too much. Go ahead.
It's just common sense stuff. Well, I'm sorry. It's just, what's frustrating for me, it's just common sense stuff. It's just simple economics 101 stuff. And, it's the people that only get their information from, their television or just specific, influencers or whatever on social media, and they haven't done any research. That's the frustrating thing for me because, again, like I said, people not paying attention and not being informed is what is costing all of us, including my children and everybody else's children.
Yeah, without a doubt, I agree 100%. You've always told it like it is. And one of the things I think you might take some comfort in, or I should say you must take some comfort in, is that it does seem like MMA fighters are embracing the point of view that you have and that I have, pro-America, against these crazy policies that are not helping and that are hurting Americans. And like I'm sure you must have been happy with Bryce Mitchell coming out after that last victory and saying the stuff he did, and it makes me happy because you would think that people that train so hard and risk their lives and life and limb and their bodies and their health to fight would be people that believe in not chicken shit type of policies that are only going to hurt their neighbors and their family, and it's got to be a comfort to you that for the most part, MMA fighters are really realizing a lot of this stuff that's going on and are speaking out against it.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's all we can do right now. You know, it's peaceful non-compliance, basically, is what it has to be. But
Yeah.
no, Bryce Mitchell's a well-spoken young man. He's an amazing fighter, and you know, with him, I feel the same way. You know, it is. We have no business going into another foreign war. We have no business doing that.
Right.
It is, and again, so many people that are uninformed about, you know, there was when we covered it on my podcast. When we first started our podcast, we were talking about it, that neo-Nazis had overthrown the Ukrainian government and put a couple characters, you know, the Newland, Assistant Secretary of State under Hillary Clinton. Newland was, I believe her first name is Victoria Newland. But anyway, she was caught on tape talking to a representative of, I think, the Council of Foreign Relations, discussing on who they were going to put in as the next president after these neo-Nazis were done taking down the government.
Right.
So,
it's, you know,
you don't expect Putin to. This is happening on his border. If that was happening in Mexico,
right,
and Russia was funding a takeover of, you know, the Mexican government, and then sending in all kinds of military equipment and stuff like that,
then we should be involved.
What do people think? What do people expect out of someone who's a leader of a nation like that? Right.
Yeah.
And I don't support it.
No.
You know, I don't. I mean, Putin has proven time and time again he's not a good human being.
Correct.
But, you know, do I want to provoke a villain with some more villains and cause a global war?
No, definitely not. No, and the elite don't care, but if they're willing to sacrifice the average everyday person, and then clearly with the gas prices the way they are and inflation and people hardly being able to afford driving and eating, it's not an administration looking out for the American people, that's for sure. And I think, just to wrap it up really quick, then I want to ask you a couple more fight questions. I think when we finally get these maniacs out of office in the next few years, I would hope and think that you would be someone that would be elevated as an inspiration, and a hero, instead of being somewhat vilified as you have been. So I look forward to those times, because I think that will be the case, and I think you'll be on the forefront of people that have the courage to tell it like it is. I know I feel that way about you.
Well, and you know what I'm focused on is helping people, and that's what I've always tried to do. And you know, one of the other things that I'm doing is I've been given the exclusive U.S. rights on what I consider to be the most powerful fulvic acid soil conditioner on the planet. So
wow.
This can be used on farm crops. We've got a shortage coming of conventional fertilizers. Russia's our biggest importer of that. And the prices have exploded up to 300% more expensive. So farmers are spending up to $250 to $300 an acre to fertilize their property. Now, you times that by 1,000 acres.
Wow.
Of $300. You're talking massive amounts of money for these guys. Now you go up to the farms that are 10,000 acres and bigger, right? So the costs are going to be crippling for a lot of these family farms, and so this can be used in conjunction with less conventional fertilizers, because it improves the uptake of the nutrients, and it also is soil reclamation. These are the nutrients that were in our soil 100 years ago or more, but because we've done mass farming, we've sucked all those organic nutrients out of the soil through years of that industrial level farming. So this is important. This is important for the soil as well, because it helps oxygenate it. It enriches it again, and causes the plants to have deeper root systems. So there's less water needed. You know, there's just so many benefits to this, and for feed grain, for hogs, for cattle, stuff like that, it's going to have some serious nutrients in it.
Interesting.
Because of it, we are considerably less expensive than conventional. So, you know, this is something that farmers here in Iowa are starting to pick up on, and they're coming to us, and we're spreading the word. I've been talking to people, you know, all over the nation about the hydroponic stuff, the CBD, the marijuana, the corn, the beans,
yep.
You know, all kinds of different stuff that can be. And this is this is super important because when you have sick soil, you have sick people.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. Is there any specific website you can tell us real quick where we could find this product, or has it not been? Have you not come out with anything yet?
People can email Soil Saviors LLC at yahoo.com.
Okay. Soil Saviors LLC.
Soil Saviors LLC at yahoo.com. And we're doing the larger farms obviously right now. I mean, still family farms, but it's not for gardening.
Gotcha.
It doesn't come in those small containers. This thing, it comes in 55-pound bags.
Gotcha. Very, very interesting. I like that. Definitely like to find out more about that. For sure, it sounds like something that's very important. Wanted to ask you in the last few minutes we have together, though, about a big fight coming up with our next guest, Gilbert Burns and Khamzat Chimaev. You're an Iowa wrestler and an Iowa wrestler that took your wrestling to the highest levels in the UFC. So you know about wrestling and you know about wrestling for MMA better than most people out there. This is such an interesting matchup in that you've got a Brazilian who's worked on his wrestling and has actually improved it pretty substantially from years ago. He's a high-level jiu-jitsu black belt, and he's got some hands, battle tested against the best guys out there, going up against a guy who's definitely taller, younger, and possibly stronger, but has not beaten anyone ranked higher than maybe number 20. So there's a little bit of a question mark after his name. But what do you think? How do you think this fight plays out? Khamzat Chimaev against Gilbert Burns. I'm not going to ask you for any prediction if you don't have one. You're probably possibly on the fence, I think, on this. But if you want to throw out a prediction, you could. Otherwise, give me a couple of things that maybe the public should look for to be able to give us an idea on what's going on, maybe from a real expert's standpoint, and then maybe a couple of different ways that you think this fight could play out.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, when I look at the athletes and their games, Gilbert is smaller. I don't necessarily. He's very, very good. He's very good, but I think I don't know if he's in that in between that real rough weight where he can't make 55, but a little too small for 170 because these guys are, coming down from. I mean, I was cutting down from probably 195 at the time, so I was cutting 25 pounds, and there's guys bigger than that.
Yep.
There were guys bigger than that when I was fighting. So Chimaev is a big guy, very rangy. Very strong guy, very solid wrestling, and he's got good striking. He's got fast hands as well. But Gilbert's got the speed advantage. He's got to use his feet. I mean, he's got to use a lot of movement and just control the center of the cage. You can't get stuck up against the cage against Chimaev. You just can't do it. He's going to put you on your ass. So that's really what Gilbert has to do. Chimaev is a guy that he's going to stalk until he can get his paws on Gilbert. Gilbert's just got to figure out a way to not end up getting taken down. And if he does, I'm sure he's working quite a bit on getting back up. But we've seen a lot of people have trouble doing that against Chimaev.
Absolutely, it's definitely going to be a test. This test is going to tell us how good Chimaev is. And, it's interesting. Like they say, there are levels to this game. I like when fighters mention that because a lot of times that comes true. And if Gilbert is able to turn away this challenge, then we would be able to say Chimaev was just not quite on that level yet. But then he very well might be. Seems like a super confident fighter at 6'2" and coming down to 170, like you said, it's got to be hell of a cut. The guy's got to walk around probably over 200. He also fights at 185. Obviously, he has more advantages at 170, but you'd think as time goes by, it's going to be harder and harder for him to make it. But looks like he can do it for now, huh?
Chimaev, I mean, he's that's the thing, man. I'm telling you, I've wrestled Russians and I fought Russians. They grow up different than we do, man. I mean, I had a rough childhood, no doubt, but I didn't have dirt floors and live in the mountains.
Right. Yeah.
So they've lived a totally different level of life in terms of toughness. And, those guys walk around barefoot in snow. They don't care. So they're just very, very tough, rugged people. And you've got to have, if you notice, when you look at the champions in the UFC, generally you see immigrant mentality, not just immigrants, but immigrant mentality. Even though like a Stipe Miocic, grew up here in America, but those to be, to help people understand, like Croatians and Croatian Americans are very proud of their blood because it's a tough breed of people. And so I always had that immigrant mentality, work 3 jobs all the time, just have that mentality of work, work, work. And that's the mentality you've got to have. You cannot be soft in any way, shape, or form and expect to win a UFC championship. It's just not going to happen.
That's for sure. Pat, we got Gilbert scheduled to come on in about 1 minute, but I really appreciate you coming on. So much more to talk to you about. Maybe we can see if you're free over the next few weeks. I wanted to bounce something else off you as well that my producer, Dr. Adam Rorta, had in mind, so I'll give you a ring on that. But man, I want to thank you so much for jumping on 5 years after you first came on. Huge respect for you, man, in every way. And I want to thank you so much for jumping back here with us on the MMA Power Hour 5-year anniversary.
All right, man. Thank you, guys. Take care.
You too. Have a great night.
Okay.
And that was Pat Miletich. Dr. Adam Rorta, whenever you're ready, we can get ready to jump on Gilbert. But always great to hear from Pat.
Always. And again, thank you, Pat, so much for being our first guest, coming back 5 years later to the day.
Yes. We really appreciate him so much.
The actual date landed on the same day, which is really interesting. I went back and looked, and it was the 15th. It's just we're a day earlier now.
Right. You're right, because we were Wednesdays. We were Wednesdays when we started out. And actually, then we went to Thursdays, or who knows? We went back to Wednesday, and then Tuesday finally. And we made, because we don't want to interfere with live broadcasts of Bellator or the PFL or One Championship.
All right, let's get into our next guest here.
Let's do it.
Skype dance. Jens Pulver style.
I should have told Pat that was one of his proteges.
Let's see when he picks up. Is he here? Is he coming? Showing he's online. All right. No.
Missed him that time.
Well, it's showing he's online, but
did confirm.
Yeah, and he did confirm.
Why don't we let him know we're trying to ring him, and then ring him a minute later. While Dr. Adam Rorta is doing that, I promise not to sit here looking like a deer in the headlights. Always great to talk to Pat Miletich. Can't wait to have a great chat here with Gilbert, and then Max Payne Griffin we will finish up with on this 5-year anniversary MMA Power Hour show. We got so much in store for you, so many great ideas, and we are really working on getting on more and more platforms, and actually, having people join me on the couch, and maybe a bigger couch, so it looks just like the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon or whatever the hell else is on the air. And so we are working on that, and I think we have a better chance than we've ever had before here in 2022 of making things like that happen. And so we are excited about bringing that to you. And I know that would be an amazing look, and would love to create that, as I know Dr. Adam Rorta does as well. So
I'm going to go into a question here by Ralph. He's like, what is this, politics? Well, to be quite frank with you and honest with you, Pat is a very political person, and you get into any conversation, you could be talking with him for days on politics. And that
super knowledgeable guy,
very
passionate about it.
Very passionate about his politics, and he's got his way about his theorizing about what's going on, does his own research, and he's very passionate about it. So it is what it is. He's a great guy, and it doesn't matter where you sit on the political spectrum. That's one of the things that it doesn't really matter when you're speaking with him. That's his whole point. That's right. You know what? Politics are stupid, and that's kind of his point. but he's political at the same time.
That's it.
So
and he's knowledgeable and informed.
That's the way it is sometimes. I mean,
he's
Joe
very
Rogan
passionate.
gets to be that way too.
Yeah,
These guys are
totally
down the same road, kind of.
Similar,
but different.
Yep,
at the
similar
same
but
time.
different. Yep.
Yeah,
All
it is
right.
what it is. MMA is tied in with politics, whether you want it to be or not.
Exactly.
And
there's a lot of politics
let's
still
look
going
at.
on.
Yeah, there's a lot of politics going into mixed martial arts on
But
its own.
But we just have short amounts of a segment, if any, about politics. So you'll find you won't be hearing about any politics probably in the rest of the episode, although you never know. Anyway,
You
let's,
never know.
Yeah, let's give Gilbert a shout.
Boom, boom, boom. Skype dance again. I hope you guys are Skype dancing with us.
Do the Skype dance.
Macarena.
A Macarena. Gotcha. Well, this is a little concerning here.
It is a little bit, yeah. Calling again. Nothing. Oh, he's saying 5 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, excellent. Love to hear that.
Yeah,
Love
let him
to
know
hear
that's
that.
cool. Maybe tell him that's cool. Okay, while Dr. Adam Ward is doing that, yes. So in the next 5 minutes, we will have Gilbert Dorino Burns coming on. He has an amazing fight against Hamzat Chimaev. So Dr. Adam Ward, let me ask you, you wrestled in Iowa in grade school. If you are Gilbert Burns, you're the more experienced guy, you're the older guy, you know you're going to be a little bit smaller than the other guy, but you know he's got a lot of hype, but you know he hasn't faced a top-level guy like you, right? But you also know he tends to finish guys early, and this is going to be a 5-round fight. What do you think your strategy might be? Because both guys have a lot of chops. I would say probably Hamzat has the better wrestling, but Gilbert's got some wrestling. Gilbert has the better repertoire of submissions, but Hamzat's are good, especially from the top. And they're both good in striking, but Hamzat is a much longer, taller fighter. So mostly the experience is the only really
The experience is the big differentiator here, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you this one it's so tough to call.
What would you think that Gilbert's strategy would be, being the smaller, older guy, but the guy with more experience in a 5-round fight, knowing that the other guy's kind of likes to finish things early?
I mean, work him against the cage. I mean, that's about it.
Just kind of maybe try to tie up and maybe stall out a little bit.
You force him to work against the cage. And
Right.
Force him to work and tire him out is really what it is.
That makes
Tire him
sense.
out, and that's his one opportunity, I think, to really excel in this, using his experience. He knows to do that a little more than Hamzat.
Right. Uses craftiness.
Yeah, uses craftiness 100%. That's what this is going to be about, is those little intricacies there, because being the smaller guy, he does not have the leverage, and these guys are both good enough, both of them, to go either direction. But listen, Hamzat has the ability to utilize that leverage and get any type of submission a little more easily by having the length in his arms and his legs and his torso. So I mean, there's ability there, but also the striking. Oh man, I'd have to give that.
I mean, they're both good. Probably it looks like Hamzat, although
That's what I'm saying.
like Pat Miletich said one thing. Gilbert should probably try to keep it on his feet. The only thing is, if you keep it on your feet and you're getting pieced up by a guy who's that much longer than you, that's not that great. But then the other thing is this. Obviously, I think everyone knows, if Gilbert could get it to the ground where he is on top, that would be ideal.
Mm-hmm.
But these Eastern Bloc guys, the Dagestanis and the Chechens and the guys from Kazakhstan, they're like NCAA D1 national champions. You just don't usually put them on their back. They're just not having that.
Right.
But if Gilbert can do that, that would be a very good position, especially since he is the higher level, the more knowledgeable submission guy. And the Eastern Bloc guys don't tend to throw up a lot of stuff. They don't tend to play guard at all. But the other thing is that if Gilbert's on bottom most people feel that's pretty bad, especially with Khamzat being that much longer, younger, and really good at ground and pound. Although, do you think with Gilbert being a really high-level jiu-jitsu guy, maybe he plans to not worry about it if he is put on his back? Or what would you think? He probably doesn't want to be there, I'd imagine.
No, I mean, nobody wants to be there.
Yeah. Unless you're like former UFC champion, the Brazilian Fabricio Verdum, didn't mind that because at 6'5", he was so long that he would use his guard,
right?
And he would submit people from his guard. But in this case, Gilbert is 4 inches shorter.
Right.
So
he's 4 inches shorter, and I mean, if you're able to create that distance, the guard makes sense, 100%. But
not when you're shorter.
Not when you're shorter. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, just coming in and having somebody just waylay on you. I mean, that's what you got to prevent when you're in the guard. So
right. Exactly. Want to see if he's ready, or is it not quite 5 minutes?
It's not quite 5 minutes.
So,
yet.
I mean, I think...
I mean, everybody's going to have their arguments about this. A lot of people... Well, I don't know what this is about. We've got random
commercial pop-up,
yeah.
I mean, we're going to be an interesting fight. I think the one thing that some people are going to say Gilbert shouldn't do is make himself available for a firefight early, because Khamzat's going to be super fresh, and he's always getting guys out of there by round 2 anyway. So I think probably most people would say maybe Gilbert, like, using a strategy and kind of trying to grind and keep it going and drag Khamzat out into the later rounds, kind of maybe what you were saying does make sense. But then the flip side of it, it's like if he could get Khamzat's respect early, maybe hurt him early with a strike, then that could make things a lot more advantageous for Durinho Gilbert Burns. But I think we'll find out some of his thoughts. Obviously, he doesn't want to give away his entire strategy.
Listen, he's just gonna finesse it. If he does everything he can to wear him out and tire him, I think that's the key to it.
Yeah, take it to the later rounds.
Yeah, take it to the later rounds, and he has an advantage in the later rounds.
Yeah, just based on experience.
Yeah, I mean, makes it past the second round. I think it's his.
I think it's a good chance. Yeah, I think if Gilbert's still looking strong in round 3, then he's got a very good chance. Yeah, I think most people would agree with that as well. All right, why don't we give him a shot? I think it has been 5 minutes.
All righty. Skype dance. Breakdown. I need to come up with some sort of hip hop flow to this.
That would be cool.
I need to get some lessons from. I'm gonna record the Skype tone. Get some lessons from Sticky Fingers from Onyx.
Yeah, that guy's got the sticky fingers.
Well, he is one of the best lyricists alive.
Yes, he is.
The man bodied Eminem on one of his own tracks.
Nice, man. Now, sticky fingers usually means that if you got something laying around of value or some money, that it ends up in that guy's hands, which is not necessarily a positive thing. But I don't think he has sticky fingers like that, does he?
I mean, as a person, but his character that he plays in entertainment, absolutely. He's all, it's hardcore hip hop. He's supposed to be gangster.
That's it, man. He's a real OG.
He is an OG.
That's it, man. Well,
he replaced Jam Master Jay in Onyx.
Nice, the great Jam Master Jay from Run DMC. I actually knew a girl who was buying feel-good merchandise from him many years ago.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. And I think she was very happy.
Stories upon stories.
The product and service were to her satisfaction. But anyway, God bless him, So we are really excited to have this next guest on. And it hopefully should be any minute. It's going to be a really good fight. I mean, we've We talked to his training partner, Vicente Luque. You know what's unfortunate, Adam? Vicente Luque, the silent assassin, is tending to get lost in this welterweight shuffle. At the top, you have Kamaru Usman. Usman has beat Covington twice, although they were close fights. Covington beat Masvidal. Covington is looking like the second best welterweight out there. However, Usman is looking at a fight with the Englishman, Leon Edwards, who he had a pretty good fight with 6 years ago, I think it was, 5-6 years ago, and Edwards has only improved, as has Usman. So they're talking Edwards. The fight keeps on falling apart. They're talking the winner of Gilbert versus Hamzat. You got Colby in the picture, but Vicente Luque is right up there, and I just think because he doesn't talk trash, you know, that people are forgetting about him, and they shouldn't. He's in stone cold killer. I think he's on like a 7 or 8 fight winning streak. I think he had 1 loss to Wonder Boy, and otherwise he'd be on like a 12 fight winning streak. He's super cool. He's young. He's big, and he's legit as hell. I honestly think that that probably a lot of people, because there's not enough, you know, heat around his name. There's not enough, you know.
So you think he's another Gaethje?
Yeah, man. Luque is a serious contender. I mean, he's a really good striker. He's getting his wrestling better, and he's working with Gilbert Burns, his good friend, for a long time on his jiu-jitsu. And yeah, I mean, you know, Gilbert's a beast, but so is Luque. Luque is a little bit bigger than Gilbert, and no one can really call Luque small for 170, whereas some people are calling Gilbert's a little bit small for 170, having been at 155. But I don't want people to forget about Luque. In fact, when asked about contenders in the welterweight class, Chael Sonnen recently threw out Vicente Luque's name and said, "Hey, I don't want people to forget about the silent assassin Vicente Luque." So keep in mind, very nice young guy too, very good dude. You want to try again with?
I mean, we're just going to keep giving him a tone over and over again. I'm just kind of waiting for him to try us back.
Yeah, I mean, he did say 5 minutes. I mean, but he may be expecting. He you know, he may not know that he would be expecting.
It'll show him his call. I just called him.
Well, no, I don't mean that. He probably knows he's missing the call, but he may not know that we're expecting him to call us back. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I already said asked him to call us, Colin.
Oh, well, then again, what do I know? I didn't know that. I didn't have that information. Speaking about information, you know what? One of the terms that I hate the most, man, that's going around nowadays is these jackasses talking about misinformation and disinformation. It used to be one of the great things about being an American is you could have your opinion. And now I think that the administration we have and the far left has come up with a new concept. Hey, if you don't agree with us, if you don't follow our narrative, then what you're putting out there is mis or disinformation. And I'm like, that's like the most un-American thing I think I've ever heard of. It's preposterous.
Well, there's one thing if you present an opinion, and there's another thing if you present something that's unfactual. And that's why that goes that way. And I could have this talk with you over and over again. If you present something that is not proven to be factual as a fact, if you present an opinion as a fact, that has every right to be shut down.
And I understand that, and I do agree with that. But and if that's the case in certain situations, then that's not good. But so many situations I've seen where they're throwing this misinformation, disinformation label on opinions that are not involving facts. They're basically, you know, saying that you can't say you think this was done, or you can't say that it appeared this was not a fair process, or you can't say that the teachers in school should be able to stay out of teaching as long as they want, or that it's not right to have to put our kids through this virtual thing or mask or so on. These are opinions that should absolutely be respected and shared. And
I mean, is the government stopping that? Is the government responsible for shutting that out?
No. But
okay, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, I think that media is being really irresponsible, both television media and social media, to try to label dissenting opinions as misinformation. And I know you agree with that. I don't think you think that.
I've never once seen something factual that was taken down. I just haven't.
I don't know about taken down, but there's disclaimers put on a lot of people's posts saying this is false or misinformation. And I think that's
you just hit it right there. If it's false or misinformation, it's false or misinformation.
Right, but that doesn't mean it is that just because one private source feels that it is. You know, the bottom line is
that's not what I've seen. I've seen a reality that things have been fact checked, and that's a lot of people hate that.
Well, it's
but
facts
are facts, numbers are numbers, and if you start throwing random stuff out,
yeah,
I mean. There is an opinion, like my feeling about the whole COVID thing. I still stand by the idea that COVID is pretty much a farce, and I believe it's a disease.
And
it's real. It kills people.
Right, but
my belief too is that in the numbers that a lot of it was actually manipulated.
Right, and let me ask you, if you posted that on social media and they laid a stamp on it saying this is false or misinformation, that they'd be full of crap, wouldn't they?
If they did that, but they didn't. They didn't do that any time that I've had that happen.
Not for you personally, but I'm seeing that done with other people.
Actual influence too. Right. And I never saw it because of the verbiage that I utilized. I was not misrepresenting facts. I was using medical journal science and actually citing sources, and that's a big thing that I think a lot of people miss. But anyways, what about mixed martial arts this weekend? We got some good stuff coming up.
Yes, we do.
Here.
Do we want to try Gilbert one more time here, really quick?
I mean, we can try one more time.
Let's try one more time, and then let's have hope. I'm going to say a silent prayer here. Silent prayer time.
We probably lost people in that conversation. Yeah.
Hope not.
We did. Not permanently, but
that's all right.
Boom, boom.
Come on, Gilbert. Come on.
Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Yep.
That's an awful long 5 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
It's
disheartening when that happens, right? Yeah, we'll see. Maybe he still comes around, but we do have a third guest.
Yeah,
so
we do. I really hope. I mean, like I like to say, for people that have watched the show, they know. And I mentioned earlier, we do have a really good record of people showing up. But once in a while on every show this happens, but it is super, super frustrating because, I really want to let you guys know that when we have someone scheduled and we advertise them and we mention them, it's because they committed to being on. And we're not having someone say, I might be able to make it, or, give me a shot. Maybe I'll be busy. Maybe I won't. If that's the case, we don't advertise them and we don't schedule them. We have people, we get a firm yes for a certain time. I'm not trashing on Gilbert Burns. Possibly emergencies have come up or something, but it sounded like 15 minutes ago he said he'd be ready in 5 minutes, and that was already 7 or 8 minutes after the agreed call time. So it's frustrating. Definitely no hate and disrespect whatsoever toward Dorino Gilbert Burns, but it's just a frustrating situation, and he's not the only one that has been involved in the world of podcasts and shows. So not lumping him in alone, but it's frustrating. So we have some fights this Saturday. Did you want to take a look at our great screen that shows those amazing fight odds? Let's see what we got. CFFC for Cage Warriors, no. PFL. Here we go. UFC. There we go. So UFC Fight Night in England. Our representative Chris Allen will be there. I like to call him Gentleman Chris Allen. And I'm thinking maybe he should have a thing over his ID that says gentleman or Lord Chris Allen. I think that'd be freaking awesome. Allen. Or Sir Chris Allen. I think Lord is one level higher than Sir, assuming he's knighted. But he will be there in England covering this event for the MMA Power Hour. So check him out in the post-fight press conference. Where shall we start? Paul Craig. Here's an interesting one, Adam. This is one because I know you can be a invertebrate gambler sometimes, as on occasion I can be inveterate. Anyway,
I like that.
Yeah, so Paul. Oh,
there he is.
We got him. Let's see.
There we go.
Hey, Gilbert, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How you doing?
Doing great, brother. How about yourself?
I'm good, bro. Just freaking raining right here, and my signal went so bad. I'm sorry.
Okay, just getting set. All right, excellent. Okay, so you're just going to see yourself there for now, but if you're in the square and the screen, you're good to go. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you very good.
Excellent, Gilbert. I appreciate you a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Gilbert, so I'll give the proper introduction with respect for fighters that I always have. Super excited to have this next guest on the show, joining one of many top 5 UFC contenders that we have had in the past. This is the first time with this man. Huge fight coming up April 9th against Khamzat Chimaev. This is a man who's been a contender for so long, jiu-jitsu master. The guy has a balanced game plan. The guy's one of the most respected and I think liked fighters. I don't know anyone that doesn't like Gilbert Burns. Please welcome to the show the man they call Dorino, Gilbert Burns. Welcome, my friend.
My pleasure, brother. Thank you guys for having me here. I'm super excited. Big fight coming up. A lot of good things happening. So thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Absolutely, man. You've always been a guy that I feel like if I was ever a professional fighter, I would like to have like the attitude and the vibe you have, because you're relaxed and you're friendly. Like, I think in the past, maybe some guys can get you pissed off, but it's not easy. You have like that Zen master type of a philosophy that's unusual for a guy in their 30s. Usually guys maybe have that in their 40s or in their 50s. But what do you attribute to this relaxed, positive, friendly mindset that you have almost all the time?
He's a martial arts, you know. I think he's from the martial arts. I think from the jiu-jitsu, where my roots, where I came from, a lot of respect, you know. I don't need to be your enemy to fight you, you know what I mean? Like, I fought a lot of guys, even if we back a little bit on the jiu-jitsu time, like when on a highest level, championship level, world tournament, those guys make me better, you know, so I respect these guys. So it's not my friend, but it's also not my enemy. It's just a rivalry, but on a good way. So it's kind of like the way I take MMA, you know. I want to be, you know, I want to make, even though we in a competitive level, the competition is so high, but on the same time, I don't want to push the guy down. You know, the guy is a fighter just like me. You know, he's a warrior. He's, you know, trying to be a champion, trying to build a family, to have, you know, to you know, to be a better human being and a fighter. For sure, those guys are parents. They are husbands. So why am I gonna bring the guy down? You know, why not just, you know, for sure, gotta be entertaining. We gotta sell the fight, but I try to be as most respectful I can, because I think because of that roots from the jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely, and I agree. And you know, I've trained jiu-jitsu myself. I'm not a high-ranking guy. Purple belt, maybe I can get to brown. Although I'm getting older, my body's breaking down. So if I don't make it, right, you know how it is, right? But I have so much respect though for you guys that have made it. A lot of people who are watching that are not familiar with Brazilian jiu-jitsu, one of the things I can tell you as a guy who started out as a traditional martial artist that I did, is that every martial arts style deserves respect, but a lot of martial arts styles, you can see a guy or a girl get a black belt. They're not so good, but they've showed up for class 3 or 4 days a week for 2 years or for 3 years. And in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I think the average amount of time it takes to get your black belt is what, 7 years or to 9 to 10 years?
Yeah, around 5 to 10 years, depend. Especially if you don't start as a young, you know. Those guys start at 16, 17, they can get a black belt super quickly because of the competition. But the guys that get a little older, over 30, 40s, yeah, it's gonna take a little while. I don't think it would take, if you consistently, if you're doing like 2 to 3 times a week, if you're being consistent, I don't think you're gonna take 10 years. But you know, it depends. Each case is different. You know, a couple guys evolve so fast. Couple guys, you know, sometimes your path is a little harder. You got to stop a couple times, come back, injuries. But I would say 7, 8 years in that frame a little bit for a normal person.
Exactly, and they don't get they don't get handed out easily. For someone to get a black belt, right? You need to go to a level of discomfort and pain consistently to be able to get that, because the teacher's reputation is on the line when he puts a black belt around someone. And so it means something. And what I like a lot also is that you'll see sometimes in standard traditional karate, also no disrespect for that, but you'll see sometimes a 7 or 8 year old child with a black belt around him. And I remember just thinking that this is ridiculous. This 7 or 8 year old child who's 4 feet 5 inches tall, who weighs 90 pounds, he can't beat any adult male. He probably can't beat many adult females if he was in the street and they put a black belt around him. And this is wrong, in my opinion. And I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the highest you can get, I think before you're 16, is like a blue belt, isn't it?
They even have a thing before the blue belt, like a green belt, whenever you kind of, before you're 16, the only thing you can get is, if I'm right, it's a green belt. I don't like that thing as well. When you have kids, freaking 7, 8, 9, 10 years old as a black belt, I think black belt means a lot more than that. Not the technique. It means a lot of discipline. It means a lot of, like sweat and tears and freaking hard work, discipline, and not easy. It's kind of like it's very hard to compare it to a college degree or to a freaking Navy SEAL degree or something like that. But I think he's on that college. It's kind of freaking 5 years of a lot of studying, a lot of work, a lot of training. It's something that people like too young shouldn't be able to accomplish yet.
Yes.
I think you gotta make a level to the kids. Okay, the highest level you can get is right here, but not a black belt, and then I like the way they do in jiu-jitsu. To be honest, I don't like as much the way they do in karate, and I wish they would do something kind of on the same level with the wrestling, because you don't see a lot of like old guys over 30, over 40 doing wrestling, because the wrestling is very brutal.
Yes.
But I think they should do a league or a graduation system, kind of like a flow wrestling, something like that. They can keep doing wrestling, because I saw a lot of guys like they high level wrestler, but like they 50, they 40, they go to jiu-jitsu, they transition to jiu-jitsu, to a no-gi. But in my opinion, someone have to invent that flow wrestling belt program, that you can be like, I don't know, black belt or division high, I don't know, in wrestling, and people could wrestle like that too. I think that's something that could be done very soon.
I like that. I would like to see that. I think that would be very cool. Well, Gilbert, we've got about 10 more minutes left with you, so I definitely want to talk about this big upcoming fight, and I know it's what people want to hear about. This is a great fight. I know you're happy to get. You've won 7 out of your last 8 fights. You looked amazing in that last fight against Wonder Boy. You were the underdog. I was there in person, and I think you did what many people expected that you couldn't do to Wonder Boy.
Yes.
Right? I think many people you were reading were saying Wonder Boy is going to stay away. Gilbert won't be able to take him down. Gilbert will get frustrated with the striking, and then Wonder Boy wins the decision, or maybe we'll catch Gilbert with a kick in the head or a punch in the head, and then the fight's over. And you changed that very much to dominate in that fight. Your wrestling looked amazing. You looked like you really went for it. And I don't want to take too much time on that, because I know we want to talk about Chimaev, but was that fight the most important fight that you've ever been in? Was this why you fought so hard?
Yes, always the next one. Now is Chimaev is my next super important fight, but at that moment I was going to that fight against Wonder Boy with a lot of pressure. Just lost a title fight. He started very strong, but ended up losing by TKO in the 3rd round. and they give me a matchup that wasn't a favorite matchup for me. That was a very hard matchup. People were saying, "Oh, if Wonderball wins, they go to a title shot." I think that was. It feels like that was the plan that the UFC want to do it, and yeah, it was very hard. But like you said, I wrestled so much again. I brought Raymond Daniels. I changed the whole strength conditioning to make sure I got all the access to that fight. All the steps, all the wrestling, all the strength, and then we did a very good game plan, and I was able to execute. And then yeah, there was a lot of pressure going to that fight.
Absolutely, and I was there, and I'm pretty sure I did talk to you in the post-fight press conference afterward, because yeah, I remember you mentioned, I don't know if it was to me or to another reporter, that Raymond Daniels was so tough that actually he was a little bit more strong, a little stronger than even Wonder Boy, so it prepared you so well for that fight. So yeah, a lot of respect to him. But this fight, let's talk about this Khamzat Chimaev. So this is an interesting fight. Obviously, you know this guy. This guy has so much hype. He's a unique guy. He's a crazy guy. He's so confident. He says that everyone in the top 5 he's going to play with. It'll be easy for him to beat everyone in the top 5 and this and that. But the guys he's beaten have been, maybe the highest ranked guy was number 20 or something like that. So he's making a big jump. And as you know, they say there are levels to these things, but the question is, we don't know. Is Khamzat a guy that should be in the top 10 or the top 5? Or is he a guy who's getting ahead of himself with all of his confidence? What do you think about that?
We're going to find out April 9, but he's been doing a great job, like he's very tough, very good. The hype is insane, crazy.
Yep.
And yeah, they offer him the fight. I say yes, and we're gonna see. A lot of questions gonna be answered. Or he's that freaking guy that go out there and maybe beat me, or we're gonna shut down the hype. And I'm getting another title shot. So we'll see. I do believe that guy is very, very tough. A very strong prospect, young, hungry, tall for the division, looks very strong. Very high level wrestling, good striking, power punching, good grappling. We'll see. We gotta like I did on the Wonder Boy fight. I kind of found the blueprint. I'm on a mission to find another blueprint on this fight.
Right, I like that, absolutely, like you did in the Wonder Boy fight. Do you think that Khamzat is more suited for 185? Like, if you were his friend, his brother, his coach, would you have him focus more on 185, or do you think it's fine for him also to be 170? I think it's got to be a hard weight cut for him to be 170.
To be honest, I have no idea. I saw the guy, I think 2 times, and he was big when I saw him, but he was fighting middleweight when he fought Gerard in the UFC, or was that at that event. But I don't know, I don't train with the guy. I don't feel him.
Right.
He's super young. Whenever I was that young, I was cutting to 155 no problem. I think whenever you do the weight cut, you're very disciplined, you're consistent, you have a good nutritionist, a good team around you, you can make the weight. But it's hard, it's hard for me to answer that.
Absolutely. Now, when someone is not as experienced as you are, because he's not as nearly as proven as you are, I think a lot of fight fans think, hey, if I'm the more experienced guy, I'm not going to be nervous in the main event. Like you've been in the main event before, you've had so many fights, it's past the point. I'm sure everyone gets a little bit nervous when they're fighting, but it's past the point, I think, when you're feeling like you felt the first time in the UFC with the lights and everything. You're not going to be nervous and scared and sick to your stomach like this, right? And a lot of people think maybe the other guy will. So a lot of fight fans will say, well, the smart thing, I think, maybe, is immediately Gilbert puts pressure on this guy, makes him uncomfortable, and then Khamzat's not going to feel good. He's not going to feel comfortable. He's going to feel something's going wrong. Is this something that maybe the more experienced fighter would like to do a lot, or is this not necessarily something that makes any sense?
it is and it's not, because it's a lot of pressure going to a fight, and it's a lot of pressure for me going to a fight against a guy with so much hype and a very like a high level fighter as well. He's been killing the competition that they give into him. And then now he's stepping up on a competition, but on the same way, I don't want to lose to this guy. So it's a lot of pressure on me too. Do I have more experience? Yeah, way more. He has 10 fights. I have 24 fights. Being there, main event, co-main event from Conor McGregor, main event, fight for the title, fought former champion. I've been there many times, so that I think given me for sure a little bit of more advantage on dealing with the pressure, being there before, having that feeling. But yeah, I think I'm gonna try to use a lot of experience, but the strategy, I don't know. He's almost done, but I'm testing now. The way I want to fight, the way I think he's gonna fight. I do think he's gonna try to strike a little bit more with me. He always does strike when he faces a grappler or a wrestler. He strikes a little bit more. He gets more comfortable. I do think we're gonna strike a little bit, but I think I have so much power in my hands, a lot of speed. If I do connect something, he might go out. If he doesn't go out, he's gonna wrestle. And I'm looking forward to those scrambles, and not kind of giving up any position to this guy. And then we're gonna hit that place that I'm gonna start planting a seed on him, little seed of doubt, and then oh shit, it's not that easy. Wow, this guy's different. I don't feel like a Superman anymore. That's the seed that I want to plant on his mind during the fight.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Let me ask my producer one thing. Dr. Adam, can you let our next guest know about 5 more minutes? Beautiful. Appreciate it. So, Gilbert, how would you say Khamzat compares to some of your other opponents? I know you respect all of your opponents, but this is a question I think a lot of fans would like to hear your opinion on. You obviously you don't have to say that he's going to be the best, but is he on a level with many of the guys that you fought? Can you say maybe he's in the top 5 best guys that you think you will fight, or do you think he's lower than this? Where would you think he fits in compared to the men that you fought in the past?
Yeah, I think he will fit on the top 5. I do believe he's very, very good. But that list is great. You got Kamaru Usman, #1 pound for pound. You got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, 2 times fought for the title. You got Tyron Woodley in there, former champion. I got Damian Maia in there, a couple times, a title, fought for the title. A lot of other guys in there, but I think he does fit. A little thing that I being ready was I always fought the bigger guys, taller guys. Whenever I went up to 170, I don't have a lot of reach advantage, so I was always the shorter guy with the reach. Wonderboy was tall, Kamaru was tall, Damian Maia was tall. All these guys were bigger than me, so the size it doesn't change as much. The wrestling, yeah, for Kamaru, he was a very good wrestler too. I fought Tyron Woodley, better wrestler than me too. Even scored a couple takedowns on Tyron Woodley, but yeah, I think he's right there. I think he's the top. I give him the credit. I think he's very, very good. A lot of potential, and I'm looking forward to this fight.
Definitely. Well, we've got only about 2 minutes left with you here. Gilbert, who's been helping you for this camp? If it's a secret, I understand, but I would imagine your brother, maybe Vicente Luque.
Yeah, Vicente came a couple weeks before his fight got announced. I returned 3 weeks right here. Then he went to Brazil, finishing his camp with Bilal Muhammad. My brother's helping me every single time. Wagner Rocha with the jiu-jitsu. I have a couple new guys help me. I have 2 Russians that they ask me to don't say the names, but they giving me very, very good look from Hamza. And I have all my coaches, Henry Hoof. I got Said Saparov. He's one of the Russians that's on the coaching staff now from Stanford MMA. This guy helped me big time. Then coming Barzini, Greg Jones, and a lot of fighters too. A lot of fighters fighting on that card too. I got Ian Gary, Mickey Gall. I got my friend Jason Jackson. A lot of guys pushing me and helping me out for this fight.
Very cool. And the team is primarily Sanford MMA that you train with, or is it a couple different teams? I know it used to be Black Zillions, but they don't call it Black Zillions anymore, right?
No, Black Zillion was gone a long time ago. Then we moved to Combat Club. Then we did Hard Knocks 365, and now we Sanford MMA. And for sure, we have a bunch of great guys over there. Like I said, Jason Jackson, Logan Storley, Michael Chandler. Like so many guys in there, so many good guys. My brother, and we have a big team. Most of my preparation is Sanford MMA. I go to Wagner, Russia to do a little jiu-jitsu. I have a boxing coach. My strength conditioner I do at IAGP. These guys do freaking great job of me. I feel very strong. Cardio is for 5 rounds, and I'm looking very good. But main training is Sanford MMA.
Excellent. Well, that's a great team and a great school. You got great guys there. We've interviewed Vicente Luque before. Very nice guy like yourself. I think both of you have great careers and will continue to win and have great futures. And hey, I really wanted to thank you for coming on, Gilbert. We've never had you on the show before, and I have a lot of respect for you. You're a guy with a lot of class and true martial arts honor and spirit, and that means a lot to me. And we'll definitely be cheering you on. Look forward to you having a great performance, and I want to wish you the very best of luck on April 9th.
Thank you, brother. Thanks to having me on the show. Sorry I was a little bit late, but we talk to you guys soon.
Absolutely, brother. No problem at all. Thanks again. Have a great night.
Take it easy,
Talk to you
guys.
soon. See you. And that was Gilbert Dorino Burns. I appreciate him so much coming on. Dorino, I thank you so much. We were worried it wasn't looking good. As you can see, though, we didn't.
I'm glad he made it. 100%.
Yeah, right. And we didn't.
That is one thing that before it kind of sounded rough around the edges, is when people do turn around and they really make it happen.
Right.
We do have a strong appreciation for that.
Yeah, we really do. And he apologized for not making it. And as you guys could hear, we weren't throwing him under the bus. And not for a second were we being disrespectful. It was just frustrating. We were like, it was looking like he might not show up, and we were just frustrated because we wanted to talk to him so very badly. And also, we also don't like to look like jerks who advertise something.
Let's go into our Skype dance here.
Yeah,
Colin.
let's do it. But we appreciate it. Gilbert, thanks so much.
Boom, boom, boom. This guest has to train at 8, so you might have to let him go a little bit early.
Gotcha. Max, can you hear me? Max Griffin, can you hear me, brother?
Can you hear me?
Gotcha. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for waiting an extra 5 minutes with us. And I know you got to train at 8. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I know you can just see yourself, right? But you got about 20 minutes, 15, 20?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Appreciate you. So, Max, you are training for a March 26th fight against Neil Magny, man. Max Griffin, we're so glad to have you back on the show. Those you guys who don't know, this is a UFC welterweight contender on a great winning streak. Max Payne Griffin, he brings the pain. He's becoming Max Griffin 2.0 in his last several fights, and you're really killing it here. This is a big fight, though, man, against Neil Magny. What do you know about Neil Magny? Obviously, you've probably seen him fight. Has he been on your radar for a while? Do you have any personal relationship with him or any people around you, mutual, that's trained with both of you guys or anything?
Yeah, I like Neil. We were actually on the Ultimate Fighter 15 together back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Or was it 16, 15? I don't even remember. Tough 16. Yeah, Tough 16. We were both on the show. So I met him there. Cool dude. But, man, I've been following his career. I've been a fan of his for, following his career for years. He's been a fixture in the welterweight. I think he has almost like the most wins in welterweight history. He's been around for a very long time. Much respect for the guy, but but when I got the call or the text to fight number 8 Neil Magny, I was in, man.
Yep.
I originally called for, I wanted to fight Jeff Neal, Jingaling, Ponzinibbio. Those guys were like 14, 13, 15.
Right.
They skipped the line and gave me number 8. So couldn't ask for a bigger fight right now.
Love that, man. And that is definitely big. March 26th would be a week from this Saturday. And where's that going to be? Is that at the Apex or somewhere else?
It's going to be in Columbus, Ohio.
Nice, nice. Any experience out in the Midwest? You're normally a California guy, but I'm sure you visited out there, huh?
That's like East Coast. It was snowing out there yesterday. It's actually right by Pennsylvania. It's pretty far. I thought it was in the middle, like Midwest.
Right.
But it's far. It's right by New York. You know?
Yeah, it is kind of. I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm originally from Michigan, right next to Ohio, and you're right about that. If you look on it on the map, it's going toward the East Coast compared to Midwest places like Nebraska and Iowa and, and the Dakotas. You're right about that. But then if you ask the guys in New York and in Massachusetts if Michigan or Ohio are East Coast, they'll be like, dude, this is Midwest. You know what I mean? But you're right. I see your point. They definitely, that's why I think a lot of those people have a kind of a blend of a Midwest and an East Coast type of a mentality, because it is starting to get over to the East Coast. But yeah, you're right. It's far, man. Bring your warm winter coat, I would say, for that trip for sure. In fact, that trip's probably coming up in a few days. Do you plan to get there, 4 or 5 days in advance maybe or something?
Yeah, I fly out Monday. My last 4 or 5 fights I've been fighting in Vegas, so they've been 45-minute flights for me. But this is, I leave it, I think it's a 7-hour, 8-hour flight. So
yeah,
I'm going out a little bit early so I can rest, kind of recuperate from the plane, and get acclimated to out there.
Absolutely. And Ohio, I think a lot of Ohio is a 2-hour time difference. It might be 3. Michigan is 3, but I think Ohio may be 2. Either way, it's either 2 or 3 hour time difference. The flight shouldn't take you. I know lately, in the last several years, the airlines are scheduling things with like a worst case scenario time, and that gives them a buffer in case they're late. But it should be 6 hours or 6.5, I think.
Okay, I have a layover. We're going to Denver, and then we have to wait, and then we're going.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Well, then,
so it's taking longer for me. I mean, I leave at 1 my time. We get there like almost 11 o'clock at night their time. So.
There you go. But yeah, should be a good fight. So this is an interesting matchup. Neil Magny is an interesting guy, man. He's so lanky and awkward, but he's very experienced and composed, just like yourself. He's got some chops in the wrestling. He's got some jiu-jitsu chops, and he's got some striking chops. He is just as experienced as you. He was on a killing streak for a while, and then he kind of got turned back by Michael Chiesa in that fight, although he did look pretty good. But I know there's only so much you can take from that fight. But in all honesty, when you see a guy get beat, I would imagine it's kind of a good thing to look at tape on, but obviously you wouldn't want to only look at that. You're a smart guy. I've always known you to be a very cerebral fighter. I don't know if it's a secret, but do you look at that tape any more than the other fights that he's had, or do you look at them all equally? And how many fights back of his would you maybe necessarily study for this fight?
I don't study any of the fights. My coaches do. They look back. Yeah, he lost, but he wins a lot.
Yes, yes.
We look at more about winning, like why is he winning? What is he doing to win? So to me, that's more important. What does he do well, right? What do we need to avoid? What doesn't he like? And how is he winning this much? I'm surprised personally.
Yeah, because he doesn't seem like a really strong guy, but I think he kind of is. He's like deceptive.
I don't think he's necessarily strong. I think he likes to fight his game, which is real smart. He fights really safe. Doesn't really try to go into like battles, right? He stays long, and I think his cardio is good because he doesn't take damage. He kind of keeps the pace at his own pace, but he likes to be comfortable. So.
If he can keep it at his range, yeah, it seems like when he's comfortable and keeping it at his range, he dominates.
Yeah, well, we're not going to let him do that.
No.
So I'm looking forward to. I don't want to say how I'm going to beat him, but I'm going to take him out.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Like, I believe it, man. You've been killing it lately, and you really, put it together, putting the pain on your opponents. You know, both of you are so experienced. You're both guys that really know what to do and how to stay calm in a fight. One of the things it seems like he likes to do with his height is it seems like he'll threaten with knees, but then he's not very frequently landing them. But it seems like guys just get concerned about that, and then also like he's got some jiu-jitsu chops. But yeah, this is definitely a really good opportunity for you. You've worked your way up. You're just fighting better than ever. But obviously for him too, he can't just afford to lose either, because he's still trying to go about getting to where he wants to go. And when you fight another veteran like this, someone really experienced, do you have like a different gear? Is there like a little bit of a different mindset than if you were fighting some of these young guns that you've been fighting coming up?
Not really. I've been beating these legends, these guys that have been around the block. Beat Thiago Alves, just beat Carlos Condit. You know, like I've fought these guys that are experienced. You know, I think personally he's a little comfortable. You know, he's been in the rankings for a long time. Hasn't really gone anywhere. He's just kind of been floating around the same kind of upper middle of the ranking for years now.
Yeah.
You know, he hasn't gotten past the top 5 or had a title shot, or, you know, to me he's just comfortable kind of being where he is.
Almost a little bit like he might be somewhat of a gatekeeper to the top 5. Like if you can't get through Neil Magny, you're not getting to the top 5. It's kind of almost like what you could say. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but it kind of seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how he's been going. Like I said, he wins some, loses some, but to me, he's always seemed like he's just in the top end of the middle of the rankings.
Yeah,
and hasn't made a boost. You know, he hasn't really done anything. You know, he's a good fighter, but he doesn't really finish. He's not too exciting. He tries to win by decision.
Right.
Is how, you know, that's his plan. He wants to win by decision. He's only, you know, really finished, you know, guys that weren't that good.
Yeah. It seems like he just frustrates a bunch of people who end up reaching for him and swinging and missing, and end up just being caught up in like these clinches where he's using his length.
He likes to hold and kill time. That's not my style.
Yeah. No. It's going to be interesting, I think, because of that, right? Because this is really a contrast in style. You know, you're going to be coming in there with this power, this explosiveness. You've got some length, but not as much as him. You've got that, you know, determination, and like you, I think, like we're just illustrating, a Max Griffin fight is almost always an action fight. Whether someone's going back and forth with you in a firefight, or whether you're just blasting someone out of there, a Max Griffin fight is usually an exciting fight. And no disrespect to Neil Magny, but a Neil Magny fight is usually kind of a weird, technical fight where there is some excitement, but Neil's basically in there making guys look kind of silly with his length and his style. So it's very different. And I have a feeling you both are really going to want to execute your own game plan. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because you know he's going to try all that stuff on you. He's going to try to say, I'm going to do all this stuff to Max. Max won't know where I am. I'm going to be too long. I'm going to tie him up. I'm going to stall this out. I'm going to make Max tired and discouraged and frustrated. And then I'm going to pull off another Neil Magny decision. Right? Yep. And that, you know, and so, you know, that's what he will really be trying to do. And I think you've got some good game plans, obviously, to counter that. Obviously, another finish would be good, but have you looked, like, do you ever look and see how often someone gets finished? Because I don't think he's a guy that gets finished that often. Does that change kind of your mindset on that, or what's
no?
Or what? No,
I like it that he doesn't get finished, because that makes him think that he's not going to get finished, and he doesn't get finished because he's like he's elusive, right? He stays long, he stays safe, he fights safe. So guys that fight safe, they're hard to finish.
Yeah.
But if he breaks through that zone of safeness, he doesn't like that. He doesn't like pressure.
No.
You know. So I can't wait. I'm gonna dismantle him.
Yeah. And that will put you in a very good position because you got to figure that a win over him, maybe you can't take his number exactly, but it'll at least get you really close to the top 10, I would think.
Yeah, and then I mean after that, we got so many guys in the mix. I mean Masvidal's number 7. I mean I'd love that fight one of these days before he gets out of here. There's a lot of Wonder Boys in there. I mean there's a lot of great. I'd be in the mix where I've always wanted to be.
Yep.
So
yep.
It's a blessed opportunity, man.
It is, man. It's your time for the pain. I mean, you also saw a great performance out of RDA, Rafael dos Anjos. That would be a hell of a fight, man. You guys would beat the shit out of each other, I could imagine, in that fight. And I think you would just, be too fresh and too much. But, he's got a lot of experience. I'm sure you wouldn't mind that fight.
For sure, but I think he's 55 now, yeah? He went back to 55.
You're right about that, man. My bad on that. I know that, did you see what he said real quick? Did you see what he said that before they brought Moicano in to fight him, that Islam was actually saying, let's make this fight happen. And then apparently they were talking.
I heard Islam didn't want it, though.
Right, because I know that's what RDA said. He said Islam was saying we got to do 160, and then RDA said fine, and then he said the next thing you heard from Islam's camp is no, we got to do 65, and then he said that's fine, and then Islam's camp said we better do 170, and RDA said that's fine, and then Islam was like no, forget about that, man.
Yeah.
So
yep.
It's interesting though, man, because you don't think that Islam is trying to avoid anyone, but then it was short notice. Let me ask you, I don't want to keep you any more than maybe 3 or 4 more minutes. I want to let you get to train, but we just had Gilbert Burns on before you, Durinho. I know that could be an interesting fight for you down the line, or the man he's fighting, Khamzat Chimaev. I would love to ask your opinion as a welterweight contender that you are on the uprise. Can you give me a minute or two of a breakdown of how you think Burns and Chimaev is going to go, and can you maybe give us some insight so the fans can have an idea what we should be looking at that could be kind of telling us who's getting the advantage in that fight and who's maybe going to win?
Man, I like Burns, man. Everyone's on Khamzat. Everyone's Khamzat this, Khamzat that. The UFC's really pushing him. He came in beating a few guys, smaller guys. He fought 55ers when he first fought, some small dudes that can't grapple.
Right. Wasted
both those guys. Then he fought
Mearshart at 85.
He fought Mearshart. Mearshart was scared out of his pants. Got knocked out by him, and then he fights Jingling, who is not a grappler whatsoever. Just got wrestled by Neil Magny. Just embarrassed.
Yep.
So they keep setting up with guys who can't grapple.
Right.
Like straight up. So Gilbert Burns is a black belt, world champion, jiu-jitsu guy. He won't just be able to take him down and hold him down onto that. I got Gilbert, man. I got faith in Gilbert. They gave him number 2, Khamzat, jump in there because they want him to fight for the title. But I got Burns, man. Khamzat's good, but he's been fighting only guys that can't grapple and are smarter than him.
And guys that are ranked nowhere near the top 5. Like they say, there's levels to this game, and you kind of feel like he's jumping a couple of levels right here.
Good. Don't get me wrong, but they've set him up with all guys who can't grapple. Like I said, the first 2 guys he fought were nobody 55ers that were fighting
at 70.
And then totally like little small scrawny dudes that can't wrestle. Of course you're gonna look good. And then he beat Mearshart, who was scared to death.
Yep. That was unfortunate. And then Lee didn't know what to do when he lifted him up from behind. He didn't even know how to break the grip.
It's embarrassing that and I get it. They set him up with guys that he could easily beat. He did. But Gilbert Burns is not that guy.
No. How does that fight go real quick in the last minute I have it? Gilbert takes it early or middle rounds or drags it out, or what would you say?
I think Gilbert's gonna put it on him, man. But dude is good, but I don't think he's fighting anyone good. Yeah, you know, I don't think he's fighting anyone good. I got burned. Maybe under 1.5.
Nice, because you know they'll probably have the 1.5 and 2.5 since it's a 5-round fight. But yeah, Gilbert's a really good guy, and he definitely could prove there's levels to this against Khamzat. So I appreciate that, man. Hey, what's the best place to support you? Social media, and let us know. I know you got some merch. Tell me real quick where people can find your stuff and support you.
Yeah, find me on Instagram, Griffin, Twitter, Griffin. Merch, MaxPainStore.com, MaxPainStore.com. I also got my CBD line, MaxPainCBD.com. And Arena, ESPN. I will dismantle Neil Magny, and it will be my greatest performance to date on March 26th.
Nice. Look forward to it, Max Griffin. Really appreciate it. I'll let you get back to your training, man, and can't wait to see you do it and take home that W on March 26th against Neil Magny. I know you can do it. Appreciate you a lot, my friend. Take care, brother. You too. Peace. And that was Max Payne Griffin. Real good guy, and it's going to be a really interesting fight against Neil Magny because Neil Magny has been there with so many top guys, maybe even slightly more experienced than Max with some of the top guys, but really close. And they're a similar age. Max may be a year or two older, but it seems like he's got less miles on him than Neil Magny. And it's really interesting, Adam, from a wrestling perspective, because you know what, you also did smokers. What would you think, Adam, if you're going up against a guy who's got a completely different style in his fights, and you both tend to impose your own will on the other fighter? If you're the explosive, action-packed guy, and you're going up against this taller, lankier guy that stalls, that twists and ties people up and frustrates people, what would be your way to get through that, to not get caught up in that? Just try to go after and smash them, or what?
I mean, that's your option. I was the tall, lanky guy.
That's true. You were the frustrated people.
And that was my game too. Was to pretzel them up, and that's people weren't used to that yet when I was doing it. But that was my game plan. Quite frankly, the guys that did beat me, it was when they would just go straight for it.
Right. Just use their explosiveness and power
right off the bat.
Yeah.
Too. It was either fast or I won.
Makes sense. And
because I was able to use that tall lankiness to my advantage extremely come the end of the second round, because tall lanky guys are also usually their cardio is a little better.
Yeah. And also, this is an interesting matchup because Magny has been like top 15 forever and top 10 for a few years, but he never really gets higher than he is right now, which is like ranked number 8. And there's no disrespect on that at all, because to be in the top 10 in the UFC means you're a killer.
Yeah.
But what Max points out is that it doesn't seem like he's really on the move as far as climbing to the top 5. Almost like he's kind of in a way a gatekeeper to the top 5. And Max has never been in the top 10 like Neil, but he's closer than he's ever been. And this would be the biggest win for him. But then obviously it would be a big loss for Magny. But yeah, Max is going to go for it. I think he takes it. It's going to be an interesting fight because Magny, with that long, lanky frame and as smart a fighter as he is, I think he's over there at Elevation Fight Team, I'm pretty sure. It's going to be really interesting because they're both going to absolutely be trying to impose their own game. And I think probably whoever succeeds in that will be your winner on March 26th, the week from Saturday. Yeah. So for this Saturday, let's take a look, because you want to go maybe 5 more minutes here, or 3, 5? Yeah.
I mean, we can go about 3 more minutes, and then I got to get out of here.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's take a look and see who I'm looking at here. This is all, okay, Paul Craig. Look at that one. Paul Craig, and this is one thing I was telling you about, Adam, being the inveterate gambler that you can be sometimes. Paul Craig is a huge value bet right there for 2 reasons. A, he's on a killing streak. Paul Craig holds wins over Jamal Hill, and he also holds a win over Magomed Ankalaev. These two guys are killers. Paul Craig, even on his back, will submit you with arm bars and triangles. Right. He's tall, he's lanky, he's improving his striking. His career is on fire. Is he jumping up? Maybe slightly class-wise against Nikita Krylov? Maybe, but not. I don't think so. And not only that, Krylov has been not looking as good as he once did. I don't see how they have. I think a lot of late money is going to come on Paul Craig, Adam. So if you want to be a betting man, I would grab this as soon as you can.
I actually agree with that.
Yeah, I think Paul Craig may end up being the favorite. And he's a Scotsman fighting in England. They're going to be screaming for him. They're going to be going berserk for Paul Craig in that fight. So I think Paul Craig wins that.
What do you think about this fight, Colin?
That's very interesting. Paddy Pimblett, well, you can see the numbers show it's a crush. Paddy Pimblett did get into an altercation with Ilia Topuria, and that would be a fight, but they're not going to make that happen probably for a couple of years to come. But yeah, because they're both on the card. Yeah, they both should win convincingly on there, but there's no money to be made on that.
This fight's a tee up for Paddy. They're doing UFC.
Maybe so, although I don't think it would be. They might. Who knows? I mean, the reality is,
he's an exciting little. I don't know what to call him.
Yeah, well, Paddy. This is only Paddy's second fight here. Topuria's had like 4 or 5 fights. I don't think they would try to derail Paddy with Topuria in his next fight, but maybe somewhere down the line. A lot of hype
behind him just naturally.
There is, that's true. Anyway, also we have Meatball Molly McCann against Luana Carolina. Interesting fight. Molly should win that in England, although the other girl is taller, lankier, and has got some skills. Arnold Allen is a killer against Dan Hooker.
That's almost dead even.
That's another interesting one, Adam. I hate to do this, but I'm leaning Arnold Allen. Dan Hooker is such a tough guy, but he's just kind of been exposed a little bit in different fights. It's true that he's going to be a bigger name. He has definitely more big fight experience than Arnold Allen, but Arnold Allen, I think, is British fighting right there in England against the Australian. They're going to be cheering like crazy for Allen. I don't know. I wouldn't maybe bet heavy, but I do think Allen will beat Dan Hooker. I hate to see it, though, because if Dan Hooker loses again, they may ask him to walk away in the UFC. So I don't know. Main event is very interesting. Here's how this one breaks down for those of you guys that don't know. Alexander Volkov is like the real-life Drago from Rocky IV. He is a former world kickboxing champion who is 6'7.5" or 6'8". His wrestling takedown, his defense has gotten better and better. His defense against submissions has gotten better and better. He's learning a little bit about takedowns himself, a little bit about grappling. His striking is really good. His chin is really good, and he is a killer. He's come up short on a couple of important fights, though, and Tom Aspinall from England, the Scouser from Liverpool, has been on a killing streak. Aspinall looks as legit as is humanly possible to be legit. However, a lot of these guys, when they're 6'3", 6'4", like Aspinall going up against the guy 6'8", can sometimes throw their game off a little bit, but this is going to be a fight.
This is also a step up. This is the real test.
Yeah, it is. Aspinall stepping up here for sure. And just like we were talking about in Gilbert Burns against Hamzat, just like Max Griffin illustrated, there are levels to this. And Aspinall may not be quite ready for Alexander.
We'll find out real fast.
We're going to find out really fast for sure, though. I think that because the crowd is going to be so much with Aspinall, if it goes the distance, 5 rounds, the judges will probably have it for Aspinall. And I think he can win it. It's going to be tough, though, because if Volkov wins this, he's back in the thick of things. If he loses this, a lot of people are going to start looking at him as a gatekeeper. And he's getting older. But going to be a really good fight. They're already giving the nod just slightly to Aspinall. I think it's a good bet, but I don't know if it's a safe bet. I might lay off that. But bottom line is,
I mean, Vegas doesn't even think it's a safe bet. So.
No, exactly. They're making it almost a pick 'em. But the bottom line is, I do think this, though.
2 pick-ems right there.
A lot of Brits are going to win in England. I really do think this. And I think in almost every fight, someone from England is fighting. So you've got, I think, a dozen British fighters to choose from. And, and I think that several of them are going to win. Women's fight at the bottom, Corey McKenna, substantial favorite over Elise Reed. Cody Durden is a tough guy against a Russian fighter. Nathaniel Wood is tough. Big favorite against Morales. Anyway.
All right, guys, that's our quick breakdown. I am not good. Well, actually, the dog pick is going to be Paul Craig, 100%.
Yeah.
Everybody have an excellent night. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to hit up our at MMA Power Hour. Colin, I'm tapping out.
Appreciate you, Dr. Adam Rorta. It's been an amazing 5 years working with you, and I think we just have amazingly great things to come. Can't wait to enjoy those amazing times as we get bigger and have some more funding and can do a lot of fun things. Everything you've done so far, though, is fantastic, and I truly appreciate you. 5 years, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for supporting us for all this time. We ask that you continue and tell a friend. Go out and spread the love in a positive way. Be that guy, be that girl. Take care of your family, your friends, your loved ones, and your pets. And that love will come back to you a million times over for the entire team at the MMA Power Hour. This is Colin Crandall, and for tonight, I am tapping out.